We're truly living up to our Flavours of the West Coast title this week. We're out here in Sooke and we're looking at sea salt, we're looking at seaweed, and we're foraging for waterfront plants. Let's go see what the ocean can offer. Just 40 minutes along the coast from Victoria, Sooke is where the West Coast begins, as the drier southern tip of Vancouver Island changes to the fog-shrouded rainforest wilderness that makes up most of the coast. Sooke's natural harbour makes it an ideal base for fishing, and it has traditionally had a thriving logging industry, but recently it's become better known for its local food scene. Encouraged by local food pioneers like the world-famous Sooke Harbour House Hotel, the area has become home to some real food innovators, and I'm about to meet some of them. On a beach a few kilometres out of town, Amanda and Kelly are getting ready to go to work. The sea here is famous for its fishing, but the sea also offers a great deal more. Amanda and Kelly are here to collect seaweed. If I want to learn more, it looks like I'm going to have to get my feet wet. So Amanda, we are in, by my amateurish biological terms, in the intertidal zone here?
We are definitely. We are in the low intertidal zone.
Okay. So what do we got here? So which one is...
All right, so this is the alaria, or the winged kelp.
Okay. For the past 17 years, Amanda has been sustainably harvesting seaweed from the coasts around Sooke. So what kind of things do you bring in? What kind of things do you harvest?
Well, I do 2 species of seaweed for my business, Dakini Tidal Wilds. I do winged kelp, which is what we are harvesting today.
Okay.
Its botanical name is Alaria marginata, and it's sometimes called wild wakame because it's a very closely related species to Japanese wakame.
Oh, okay.
The other species I harvest for my business is called bull kelp,
right.
And that'll be in July, August. But there's a plethora of edible species of seaweed here that I harvest for my family and when I teach.
Right. Amanda also teaches others how to harvest seaweed at local colleges, as well as running her own courses and workshops for anyone who wants to learn.
This is the hold fast, which grips onto the rock, and then we have the stipe here, and then do you see these guys coming off laterally? And they have no midrib and they're thicker.
Okay.
Right? Those are the sporophylls.
Oh, okay.
And that's how it reproduces. So we absolutely leave those in.
Okay, I was going to say, so you don't. Are they edible? But obviously, you want to leave them exactly where they are.
They are actually in Japan. Sometimes they're ground up and sold as an aphrodisiac, but I just leave them so it can reproduce.
Right.
And then this is the growing zone. This is where all the growing of the alaria happens. The winged kelp.
Yep.
So we leave about 8 to 10 inches of that alone.
Yep.
I would cut here. If I were to harvest this one, I would cut right here. And then if you look at the end, it naturally starts to sort of look rough and die off.
So this is actually the oldest part of the plant.
This is the oldest part.
As it grows from the bottom, it kind of pushes this forward.
So the edible part that you harvest is really the middle area. And by leaving this intact, seaweeds are among the fastest growing things in the planet. So I can actually come back in 3 or 4 weeks and harvest. This will be another section 3 feet from the exact same one.
Amanda's company, Dakini Tidal Wilds, is licensed to harvest seaweed commercially and supplies a number of top local restaurants, both on Vancouver Island and the mainland. So what do you have to do with the seaweed in order to prepare it for sale to commercial operators or to restaurants and other people?
So we will take it from here to the wheelbarrow and wheelbarrow it back to my vehicle, take it back to my...
You should be commended for that in itself, because it's quite a trek, isn't it? Back
seaweed doesn't weigh very much when it's dry.
No.
It weighs a ton when it's wet. So it's very heavy. It's a labor of love. So we get it back to my place, and I have my garage is converted to my licensed seaweed shop. And we gently dry it over 2 days and then package it and go.
Can anybody harvest seaweed?
For personal?
Yeah. The ocean around here is clean enough?
The ocean here is quite pristine.
Right.
It's really, really lucky. The cold, the tidal flushing, it's a really pristine area. But I do encourage education before you go get your own. If someone were to come and just rip all these up, that would be it.
Right.
And I mean, if you don't, years and years and years, it's a healthy garden.
Right.
We have the richest cold water seaweed diversity in the world right here. And seaweeds are very fast growing. They can be harvested sustainably. So it's a really potentially important food source. So
Amanda's seaweed is used by several restaurants right here in Sooke, and my next stop is one of them. Now, no visit to Sooke would be complete without a visit to Wild Mountain Food and Drink. And Chef Oliver Canast, thank you so much for having us in your kitchen.
My pleasure.
And we're so pleased to be able to use some of the things we've just been collecting on the beach.
Yeah, right.
So, tell us a little bit about Wild Mountain.
Wild Mountain's kind of a slow food restaurant. Its emphasis is on local cuisine.
Okay.
Before I started, I went to a great slow food conference in Europe called Terra Madre.
Yep.
And I got this idea that I really wanted to build a restaurant with relationships, kind of using different people from the community and the local resources, and just have an easy, fun place to go. And
I'm just looking at all this wonderful stuff. What are you going to make for us today?
Okay, well, something that we usually have on the menu is clams.
Okay.
They're paired with a local squid, a Humboldt squid.
Yep.
The bodies of the squid have been smoked.
Okay.
And the tentacles have been just kind of braised in fish stock for quite a long time, very, very low.
Yep.
Just kind of like hot stock for about 4 or 5 hours.
Yep.
We have some winged kelp.
Okay.
And some sea lettuce.
Okay.
Some sea asparagus, and some arrowgrass.
So, should we get going?
Sure,
Are you ready to
yeah.
ready to fire things? And
Okay, perfect. I'm just gonna add the broth.
Okay. So this is the halibut broth.
Yeah,
it's
halibut
been infused
broth
with a little bit
with-
of bull kelp.
Yeah, with bull kelp. Clams go in.
So
And in
just coming up to a simmer here. You're not gonna,
Yeah.
not gonna boil
in the
them apart.
beginning, I'll add a couple butters,
Yep.
just for a little bit of richness. I'm gonna add my sea asparagus. I'm just gonna put a little bit of arrowgrass in. Arrowgrass kind of has a little bit of a fresh coriander flavor.
Looks a bit like a chive.
It does look like a chive.
Yep. So here comes
I'm going
the
to
broth.
reduce the broth a little bit in another pan.
Okay. Look at those beauties. Just gently cooked. You can see they're still glistening and succulent and moist. They're going to be fantastic. So you check every single piece of shellfish
every time.
to make
And
sure.
I'm not even looking for a rotten one. I'm just looking for one that my nose doesn't think is delicious.
Right.
I'll be able to tell if there's something bad right away. So now I'm slowly adding the things in. The pickled potatoes.
Yep.
And winged kelp, which is like a bull kelp except a little bit lighter in flavor. Not so intense, not so oceany.
Okay. So I notice you've turned the heat off now.
I'm just really wanting to warm everything through now. I don't want to cook anything.
Yep.
The vegetables don't need to get cooked. They just want to get warmed through.
Yep.
I'll add
Back in with
in.
the clams. Oh.
So I've just finished this dish with some sea lettuce, some miner's lettuce, and a wild herb called sweet Sicily.
That looks pretty spectacular. I think now is probably the time we should taste the results. And of course, clams are such fun to eat because they're almost built, you know, you don't even need almost cutlery in some capacity because you can. Oliver, that dish is just spectacular. It's so well-rounded with such different complexities of flavor between the shellfish and the vegetables and the seaweed and the flowers and the herbs. Well done, sir.
Thank you, Steve.
Well done. Thank you very much. That dish was truly superb. Oliver mentioned being inspired by the slow food movement. So outside on the restaurant patio, I sat down with Oliver's wife and partner, Brooke Fader, to find out more. Brooke, tell us a little bit about slow food. As Oliver mentioned, you know, this whole slow food concept for the restaurant. What is slow food?
Slow food is really about bringing the pleasure back to the table, slowing down, as you might imagine, and enjoying what our local area is giving us. And in doing that, we hope to help create a local food economy around the restaurant, and the restaurant can really be a catalyst for that local food economy. And that's important everywhere, but especially important in a small rural town like Sooke.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you need to take into consideration when you're talking about, particularly from a commercial environment or from a business perspective?
We need to have chefs in the kitchen that can work with ingredients that are coming in and adjusting to what's not coming in. And also just respecting the process of what the farmer and the fisher is going through, and understanding that there's only so much they can do, and that they're really trying to work in harmony with nature. And we want to support them in that.
Right.
And our guests are part of that support network. Part of Slow Food is the foodie. It's anyone who wants to engage in their food community.
Right.
And so often that are just diners that are looking for a nice evening out. But it's also people that go to farmers markets, or it's people that cook with their family and sit down to a meal together.
Right.
We're also interested in a variety of different vegetables, a variety of different animals, a variety of different seafoods. And we have that bounty here on Vancouver Island. And we really just want to celebrate that and kind of highlight the hard work of the farmers, the fishers, our baker, the foragers, and the chefs and the servers. It takes a village.
Sooke is right on the Pacific Ocean, which, as everyone knows, is full of salt. One thing you'll find in every kitchen. Jeff and Jessica Abel put those two facts together and created Salt West, one of Sooke's new artisan food companies.
Welcome to Salt West.
Thank you very much. And you must be Jessica.
Yes, I am.
Thank you so much for having us today. This is great. What a wonderful spot.
Thank you.
Salt West produces salt from seawater with some interesting twists. Oh, I recognize these guys.
Yeah, these are our big steam kettles that we use to render down some of our water. Along the coast of British Columbia, we actually have some of the lowest ocean salinity in the world here. So what we do to overcome that low ocean salinity is this system up here behind you. And this is a reverse osmosis system. Every 1,000 gallons it runs through the unit, 350 becomes pure drinking water, which we actually bottle. It's Canada's first demineralized bottled water beverage.
Seriously?
The brine water that we capture to make our salt from, we've also increased the salinity by 35%.
Wow.
So it's a very effective way for us to increase our salt yield and get a wonderful byproduct as well.
That's fantastic. These kettles slowly boil away the water, leaving the sea salt behind. But next door is something a little different. Well, Jeff, that's a thing of beauty.
Well, I know given your profession, you can appreciate what's going on here. This is one of the pans that we make our fleur de sel in, and it's a completely different process. It's a very delicate procedure. You don't want to allow the water to boil.
Yeah.
The higher the temperature of your water, generally the finer your grain size will be. So we render water down to the point of saturation. You can see all these beautiful flakes that are in the pan as we speak. And they kind of form like a sheet of ice.
Yeah.
And then they'll sink down and another sheet will take its place. And then of course we can come in and harvest them out. I like to every now and then just take a scoop out.
Oh, look at that. It looks like snow, doesn't it? Look at this. Can I just take a little?
You absolutely can, yeah.
Look at these guys. Oh. It's like diamonds, isn't it?
It is. And you're separating it away from the other minerals that are involved. And that's what gives it that smooth balance of flavor.
And it is. It's not harsh at all. I mean, you can eat it. It's going towards almost a candy-like state.
And then what we're left with is a very, very mineral-rich brine. It's very bitter because it's very mineral-heavy.
Right.
And in our case, what we do is we take that mineral-rich salt, we use it to make our bath products, our bars of soap.
Right.
And also we will take some and use that brine to wash some of our sun-dried salt as well.
The sun-dried salt is their latest project. And inside those greenhouses, it is hot.
It's pretty toasty this time of the year. We're sitting at about 40 degrees.
Okay.
Fortunately, we've got some ice cold beverage for you.
And this is the Salish Pure. This
That is the desalinated ocean water.
Ocean water.
Yeah.
I have to say, I mean, I was taking the first sip with some trepidation, but that's delicious.
We wanted to produce salt that didn't have to use any fuel.
Right.
Obviously, that has some challenges here in the Pacific Northwest with our rain and the relative humidity.
Yep.
But we put up these greenhouses. We can run this process from March through October with varying degrees of success. It can take as long as a month to evaporate the 8 liters,
okay, or
as fast as 6 days. And once you're done, this is an example tray.
It looks like Lego.
It's, you know, it's really interesting. A lot of the salt, the sun-dried salt, likes to form in those squares.
Yeah.
This salt is a very punchy salt. It's kind of like a mouthful of seawater, this one, is how I describe that one to people. Definitely more of a
totally different, and a different texture as well, isn't it? It's crunchy. It's got that nice. You're biting into it.
Yeah, this salt is very suitable for going into like a grinder.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's just got that real crispy, crunchy kind of a punch to it.
Salt West has been in business for 7 years, and they are currently producing around 35,000 pounds of salt a year. That is quite an achievement.
We're just kind of figuring it out as we go. Like, you know, we could have called ourselves the trial and error salt company, realistically. So it's a living and learning kind of situation for us here. We've learned a lot. We've grown the company, you know, from starting it on a single stovetop in our basement and going to the Moss Street Farmers Market. Yeah. If you had told me that 7 years down the road you're going to employ 6 people in your own community, have you know, over 400 stores carrying your product, I probably would have not believed you at that moment. But here we are.
Yeah. My last stop on my visit to Sooke is the beach at Whiff and Spit with local chef Castro Boateng. Castro has taken time off from his latest project, his new restaurant, House of Boateng Cafe, in nearby Langford, to introduce me to forager Januz Urban. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Like some pretty nice miner's lettuce.
Miner's lettuce is everywhere, and you know, it's a great one for everyone to know because at this time of the year in the spring, it's out and it's plentiful.
With Jan's help, Castro has promised to cook me a meal using locally foraged foods. And we're starting right here on the beach.
So Jan, what do you think about here?
All right, so we've got the maple blossom. It's a great indicator that it's the beginning of spring. It's one of those first things that we see. And in just a few days, these will be, you know, on their way to becoming the broadleaf maple leaf.
Right.
But right now, what we can do is harvest just the actual blossom, and we can do all sorts of things with it. You can tempura it, you can fry it, you can garnish a salad with it.
Those are delicious.
They're not too bad, are they?
They really are. They're
Mind if I try one, Castro?
Fresh. As you say, they don't taste like maple.
No, they don't taste like maple, but they're still light little, you know, it's a nice little pop.
One of the nice things I like to do with this is dehydrate them,
right?
You know, and just crush them right onto a little piece of fish.
Okay.
I always love it, gives some texture to it.
We've got some beach microgreens.
Beach microgreens?
Yeah, look at these guys.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we've got some seaside oric here, saltbush. Of course, it's very small at this stage of growth, and wait for these leaves to, you know, basically get the size of my thumb before I'd actually start harvesting
so
them.
considerably bigger than they are now.
Considerably bigger. Right now, if you were to harvest this, you basically have to take the whole crop here, and nothing would regenerate. You'd want this to burst up, and so you can individually cut leaf by leaf, or the top 2 true leaves, and have as a microgreen.
Castro has brought the kitchen with him, and he sets up to start the cooking.
So being on the beach here, I feel like it would be sacrilege for us to not include some seaweed.
Oh yeah.
Okay. We've got some fucus, some bladderwrack right behind us here, some old stuff.
Right there.
Right there, literally right there. Oh, we've all eaten this as kids, right?
It's delicious.
These little poppy sacks that we always, you know, would bust out as a kid. So we've got a bit of red flowering currant, which does produce a currant later on, but for right now, it just produces these beautiful pink, reddish flowers.
And edible, of course.
Edible, of course, yeah.
That's beautiful. I really do like that.
Yeah. Another one of my favorite spring greens, the oxeye daisy. considered invasive, but again, just because it's invasive doesn't mean it's not edible and delicious. It has that anise kind of
but subtle, very
mouthfeel.
soft, very delicate.
Yeah.
Well, we're chatting over here. Castro's working really hard on this side.
Yeah,
here.
what
What do you got going on over here, buddy?
Well, what I got going on is earlier on we made a beautiful nettle soup. Some of the beautiful nettles that John had picked for us. We made a nettle and sweet pea soup.
Okay.
And with that, we also made a stinging nettle pesto. It's just comfy garlic, stinging nettle, a little bit of spinach, and some olive oil and a little bit of hemp seed. So we're gonna use that to garnish our crostinis right here.
Nice and green.
Nice and green, yeah. We're gonna take some of the seaweed, just julienne the seaweed, and kind of put it on top of our crostini. Pour a couple of soup.
Yeah, we got some of our miner's lettuce that we were looking at earlier. Grab a few of these guys. All right, should we get a bit of oxeye daisy? And I'm throwing in a few little pieces of chickweed too, which most people have seen. They've probably pulled it up from their yard earlier this season. And if you look at that, we've only put in 3 ingredients and we've got a full bowl of green.
A bit of toasted nuts, a little bit of spices on it. Jan just brought some radishes from his garden.
What do you think, Castro? Whole?
Yeah, I like them whole.
I like it.
We're just gonna take a little bit of a lemon dressing on it, just a tiny bit of dressing. It doesn't need much, just a couple of
enough to sort of
spoons of
bind
it. Just enough to bind it. And then yeah, just toss it around. And again, you don't want to beat this salad up, right? Just lightly toss it. What do you think, guys?
You know what? There's nothing wild about that food, Castro. That is some spectacular fine dining cuisine.
Well, there's a spoon for you, sir.
Absolutely.
Spoon for you,
Thank
sir.
you very much.
Thank you kindly.
It really is hard to believe, considering we're at this time of year, we're in early spring, and we're able to get such a fresh, beautiful green salad without doing very much work at all. For more great recipes, ask for the Flavors of the West Coast cookbook in your local bookstore.